Hi, I'm Dan Brunton. Welcome to the Connection podcast series. Today we are sitting down with two businesses. One business from California and another from the UK. We're going to be talking with Greg Tucker and Pat Donahue from Bay Cities based in California. And we've also got Nick Kirby from Swanline Print in the UK. We're going to be looking at a particular project that they handled together. And it was reported in the press recently. It was an interesting project that needed overseas fulfillment and a very, very short turnaround time. So I'm going to start talking with the team right now. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today on this session. I was absolutely fascinated when I read a press release recently about a project that was done for the Black Eyed Peas, and it was entitled Boombox. Greg, can I come to you first? It really was a story that jumped out at me because obviously, if you try and put together an organization such as Bay Cities over in California with Swanline Print in Stone in Staffordshire in the UK, I mean, the link up is not obvious, but I understand that you met with Nick Kirby through one of the trade association events. I think it was either an AICC meeting or a FEFCO meeting or something. But tell me a little bit about how your relationship with Swanline actually began.
Well, I think the relationship came from really Nick's persona perceives himself. I mean, his company is well known, and I think my relationship in many organizations, the AICC, FBA, ICA, SMICA, LICA, all the other ones, and who knows, everyone in between, Nick's company and Nick has always been focused center of serving customers kind of in the independent way of which we serve customers, which is put the customer first, get it done, and worry about what happened later. And our go-to-market has always been the customer is center focused because that's really who we work for. And Nick's relationship with mine really came from John Kelly, as we know. John is a member of the AICC, former president of the FBA, and Nick's name and Nick just appears in there, right? And association participation is basically working with people that you know of and that you can trust in. And I think that's really where this relationship started, was through all these associations. Nick's in the center. There he is. Boom. He is the king, in my eyes, of everyone in the UK, because that's all I know in the UK. I know of Nick, right? So I think that's really, I guess, my blinded eyes is there it is. There's Nick in the middle. And when asked to do a project, that's what we needed to do. That's where we needed to go. And my brain went right to Nick.
And Greg, tell me a little bit about how this project started out, and I know that we've also got your CFO Pat on the line as well, and I'm sure Pat will join in. But I mean, just give me a little bit of background as to how all of this kicked off.
Well, Pat, it's really weird. Pat's neighbor is a gentleman by the name of Jared, who owned a company called Hybrid T-Shirts. Sold the company and really wanted to bring something back into the United States with creativity and the likes of what he was doing before. So he started a company called Keep It Here. And Keep It Here, as the name says, is keep things here and make the creativity here. And if you can, manufacture everything here. And really the go-to-market scheme of Keep It Here is high-end apparel, signature apparel for celebrities, rock and roll people, anybody that's in the limelight. I mean, one of his largest clients and one of his enduring business partners is Will Smith. And Jared is one of these fast movers. We got to get things done now. And Jared basically came to Pat, who's his neighbor, and said, I got this thing I got to get done now. What can you do for me? And hence, here we go. The ball started. Yet,
And Pat, the interesting thing is that Greg was mentioning there that the company was saying, you know, keep it here.
yeah,
But you had a bit of a spanner thrown in the works when you found out about the project, right?
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
we had no idea where it was going, right?
yeah, but it wasn't being kept here. They were launching it with the Black Eyed Peas tour, which was going to start in Europe and specifically in the UK, I believe. But they needed it, so they wanted it manufactured over there, and then packed out in Italy, and then sent to distribution centers in the UK and Germany. So there was certainly nothing here about it from a US perspective, except for the creative design and layout of the entire project. But it happened very quickly. He contacted me, I think it was on a Monday or Tuesday, and within 2 weeks we had finished goods going. And Nick's team couldn't have been more helpful, and just were able to quickly expedite this thing with no problem whatsoever. It was incredible how well they worked, and yeah, being so far apart, you would think that might have an impact, but it was so easy to provide them with the specs for the project, proofs online, PDF layouts of the whole thing. It was seamless, and Nick's team just really excelled at getting this done.
So Nick, you got a bolt out of the blue when you got a call from Bay Cities, but obviously this is sort of like right up your street.
Yeah, it is, Dan. I mean, we thrive on things like this, and I think the world we live in today, it's digitized, isn't it? So it makes it that much easier. It wasn't that long ago where everything was done on a telephone and a fax and all that. It seriously wasn't that long ago, but now in this new world we live in, everything to do with the industry that we're in and love is so much easier. Everything is a digitized file. A few conversations, obviously time difference can be an issue, but with email, and these guys were answering emails at ridiculous times, early in the morning or late at night, and vice versa. So it all became something that slotted together as if it was all happening in the UK. It didn't really have a material effect of having a huge ocean between us. And it ran pretty smoothly. There were some challenges because from memory, one of the key things was that the UK made portion of this project had to match exactly to what was being made in America. And I think that was achieved, albeit there were slightly different processes involved. The end product looked exactly the same.
And Nick, I know that both Swanline and Bay Cities are utilising similar, digital printing equipment. I mean, did that actually aid in the process? Because obviously, when you're sharing files, it's not like you're taking a file and then sending it off to a plate maker who produces your flexo printing plates. I mean, did you have similar sort of workflows and ripping processes that meant that the job went through okay?
Yeah, absolutely, we did, and quite often, actually, when you're dealing with other companies in the packaging sector, they expect you to be able to literally hold their hand through every step of the way. But the beauty of dealing, in this case, with Bay Cities was everything was given to us exactly how it was needed, and there was very little work that was needed to be done pre-press. So the layouts were very good. All the CADs worked especially well. We cut one out and proved that the design worked just for a double check. But ostensibly, everything that had been designed and laid out at Bay Cities, digitally sent to us, matched exactly. The equipment we got, yes, very similar. So that would have made things a little bit more reassuring in terms of receiving these files. But it really was pretty simple how it was achieved in the end.
And Nick, what about the raw materials that were being used? Because obviously, trying to tie down the exact specifications of might have been used by Bay Cities in North America versus here in Europe. Did you have any issues there when it came to raw material specs?
So obviously the definition of raw materials used in America is slightly different than in the European countries. So what we basically had from Bay Cities was the material specifications that we just translated effectively through the knowledge that we'd got into a UK equivalent, and just made sure that when the actual constructional design made up, there were no baggy bits. There were, the corners were nice and flush. The creasing was working okay, and that there were no issues in the CAD files associated with a material made in America than there was in the UK. So everything was pretty much belt and braces, and we just had to make sure that everything fitted together perfectly well, because if you get it wrong, it tends to be pretty expensive.
And so, Pat, if I come back to you, please. Obviously, this is effectively like a seamless integration, because obviously your client is based there in the States, and you've set up a relationship that means that you're now able to service pretty much anywhere in Europe. I mean, what was the client's reaction? I mean, happy with how it all went?
They were blown away with how quickly we were able to turn this and get them the product they needed, because they were on a very tight deadline, and they were just so grateful that literally within the course of 2 weeks, we went from phone calls to getting this thing into their warehouse so they could do the pack out job. I mean, it was that quick. And it was very much like working with our own team here. I've worked on ran point on a couple other projects as I was just getting my feet wet at Bay Cities to learn how the systems work. And it was every bit as easy as pushing something through our own plant and working with our own customer service team. It was that good.
Because Pat, you mentioned there that you were still sort of finding your feet. Greg explained to me earlier on that literally it was in your first couple of weeks within the business that you had this sort of international conundrum of how do we actually deliver this. But has it actually opened your eyes and opened the eyes of the sales team in terms of geography is no longer a boundary?
That is certainly the case. I mean, that it's kind of given us the idea that, hey, if you have a client here, we can pretty much service them anywhere. And it would be great to be able to start leveraging the opportunities we have here overseas. And if we had an opportunity to do a project with Nick's team again, I mean, that would be fantastic.
And Greg, coming back to you to round this all off. Obviously, I know your relationship with Nick has developed over the last year or so. But what is your view in terms of having been at the top of the tree for as long as you have? I mean, do you really see that there's an awful lot of potential for international merchandising and things like that Bay Cities can benefit from? Hands across the ocean.
It comes back to this, Dan, many years ago. It was about 10 years ago. I was at a party, and I was trying to explain this business of digital printing, literally 10 years ago, and how it all works and how we move CAD system files to anywhere in the world. And the guy's just fascinated by it. And he just goes, well, how do you do it? And I go, it's simple. You just hit send. And it just went, wow, that makes sense. And that conversation sticks out to me forever and a day, because in essence, if you think about digital technology and digitizing files, you can move them anywhere. And I think this just makes everything easy. And when you have trusted partners like Nick, the whole project is just executed flawlessly without any issues. As long as everything's done right the first time, the rear end of the process is executed very well. And again, it's all processes, right? You follow a digital format through a process, so it works great. And you find partners like Nick in the UK, and there's others all over the world and all over the United States. I mean, we run tremendous amounts of business. Probably half of our business is run out of state here in the United States. And it's just hit send.
And Nick, let's come to you to sort of round things off, because obviously this isn't the first time you've handled international work, but I mean, this must be one of the longest distance relationships you've had, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. One of the longest distance, but in reality, they could have been 5 miles down the road, and that's just really how strong the opportunity is for when you do digitize things, as Greg has said. But yeah, distance doesn't seem to be an issue now in international campaigns. So, it could be quite possible anywhere in the world to achieve this sort of thing. What makes it so much easier is you have a company like Bay Cities who fully understands the market they're supplying into. That sometimes can be a challenge if there is a little bit of misunderstanding in there. There's always a great advantage in dealing with somebody who knows their market, understands the product and what the client wants. But distance genuinely is not a boundary.
Greg, can I just ask one sort of last question, really, because it's sort of looking more blue sky and looking bigger picture. But do you think that marketing organizations, as a rule of thumb, do you think they really understand how to take a campaign like this and have it successfully executed across international borders, etc.? Did you think marketeers are fully aware of the capabilities that our industry offers?
I think they're just now learning with the advent of COVID and what's happening in e-commerce. What is e-commerce? It's a digital file being transferred somewhere that execute a project, right? Our whole go to market used to be go to the retail environment and buy something, pick it up and bring it home. And in 9 months, e-commerce has grown really up to 5 years from where it was going to go. So in 9 months, we realized 5 years. So marketers, I think, are finally realizing that this ability of digitalization and digital formats are really easy to take advantage of all over the world and anywhere. And it's no longer a local market, it's an everywhere market. I think that's just where things are going. And quite frankly, that's where things are.
Great. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much indeed. It's been really insightful looking at this particular project for the Black Eyed Peas. Congratulations to all involved for having such a seamless and smooth process to market. So let's hope that this leads to more discussions and hopefully through all of the various trade associations that converters realize that they've got brethren across the planet where they can actually work with their customers to achieve similar success. So gentlemen, thank you so much indeed, and all the best for the future.